Interviews with Nick Del Calzo regarding Medal of Honor, Portraits of Valor, Beyond the Call of Duty. So Nick, if you would talk about the background of the book, your creative vision behind it, what led you to do it?
Well, actually, the impulse to really honor our servicemen started as a child with my three brothers who served in World War II. As years wore on, I was a member of the Army Reserve. I left and to go to college and joined ROTC and did that for 2 years. And when I applied to become an officer for the remaining 2 years, I was denied because of an asthmatic condition, and I thought that was really a double standard. So I wrote a letter to the commanding officer. I received an honorable discharge in return. So as a result of that experience, I wanted to do something more specific to honor both my brothers and individuals that left our shores who served in the military.
Talk about your methodology for selecting the Medal of Honor. You initially wanted to go with another group. But...
That's right. I wanted to say thank you to all veterans, so I explored the idea of doing portraits, World War II veterans, and I did some images in veterans hospitals. Although they were, in my mind, outstanding images, some of my favorites that have never been published, I didn't feel they really represented the vitality and spirit of those who came back and rebuilt our country after World War II and went on to become the greatest generation. So I set that project aside and embarked on another project that I entitled The Triumphant Spirit. And so I pursued doing those images of Holocaust survivors and went on to produce a book and a national show. After that project was completed, I then resumed the activity of honoring veterans. So I chose that particular project and ended up by sending a copy of my book to the Medal of Honor Society, got a letter back from them agreeing to cooperate, gave me access to the individuals, and that started in 1999, in February of 1999 with the first image, and went on from there, and I've been doing them ever since. And as of this video, we've completed 157 images of these men.
Who was the first image? Do you remember?
No, I don't.
Okay. When you started in 1999, how many recipients were living?
There were, I think, 155
okay.
at that time.
And today I know there's less than 80.
Yeah, 70, 73 or 4, I can't recall.
When you create the images, you ask the recipients to provide an inspirational quote. Is there significance behind that?
Well, only that I wanted to have them reveal in one sentence what would they like to say to the youth of our country, and to encapsulate those feelings. And so the quotes, for me, are pretty meaningful, and they're included in the book, and some of them are quite profound. And that was my, in a sense, contribution to the book, along with the portraits.
So you have 157 images in the collection. Do you have any favorites? Do you have any kind of interesting anecdotes and things like that?
Okay, well, to respond to your first question, do I have any favorites? It's going to be a tough thing to answer, but because in many instances when I arrived at their location, the challenge was to, in that environment, how do I create something interesting and yet dynamic, and yet an image in which it's not essentially replicated among the 157. that was a challenge that I imposed on myself. However, there are a couple that have some added meaning to me, and those are one of Jerry Murphy holding a flag, and I did that shot of him at Military Cemetery in Santa Fe, New Mexico. In the shot, in the background, includes a stone, a tombstone of his brother, but that flag, the way he's holding it, is symbolic of how these men, and when they're asked if they did anything special, it's not for them, it's for those who did not pass on. So that particular image to me has a great deal of meaning, and it's symbolic of the whole book itself. Of course, the other one with Chief Childers, because it's so different and his background is so different. But that was a challenge because when we arrived at his home and looked around, it was clear to me that I wouldn't find anything of any interest to use as a background shot. So I wanted to just concentrate on whether he was receptive, wearing his headdress in the shot, and he said yes. And so we going to his garage, inside of his garage, and doing that specific headshot. More recently, of Edward Byers, a Navy SEAL, and that has a lot of context to it, because when I coordinated with him, I'd like to get some ideas of what you'd like to do. He had some predetermined ideas, and he wanted to honor his buddy that was killed in the action, the mission that they were on. He made it clear to me his wife is a photographer and she does wedding shoots and what have you. Living room was converted into a studio, so I felt very confident that we have the equipment there and the setting. So I chose not to bring all the equipment I normally do on a shot. But we started the shoot, and he insisted on one kind of a shot that became difficult to do, and it was clear that we were not going to get it done to his satisfaction. In the mix of things, his wife made me aware of a flag that was in the room, folded flag that belonged to his father. Father had passed on before he, just before he left on his last mission, and so we ended up. I suggested let's do a shot of him holding a flag.